Tempest Platoon Leader Horn reporting in, Doctor of Rhodes Island. I've already borne witness to your own tactics and the fighting spirit of Rhodes Island's operators. Under our ensuing cooperation, I and my troops will heed your orders. I'll sort out your battlefield reports for you. My officialese isn't too shabby. I'll stand guard during your rest hours. Anything else required? I'd prefer you don't keep me idle.
Hello everybody, my name is Ludwig and this is Operator Overview. The operator I'll be reviewing is Horn, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Horn is a 6-star defender of the Fortress branch. Trait of the archetype: when not blocking enemies, prioritizes dealing ranged AoE physical damage. So she is a unique unit. So typically units have the tiles in front of them, that directly in front of them that they attack. She is a ground unit that has an extended range. So she's less effective if enemies are right in front of her, and more effective if enemies are a little bit further away from her, so she can deal her ranged AoE physical attacks. Otherwise, she does not deal AoE physical attacks. If she is blocking enemies, she will not do her ranged attacks. She will instead act like a normal defender and will attack pretty slowly with her 2.8 attack interval at the bottom. Her stats are quite good actually. Her max HP is solid. She has a good attack, and she has high defense, low resistance as standard, but she has an expensive DP cost count, little pricey, not as pricey as some others, but a little pricey, block count of 3, standard for defenders, and a slow attack interval. She hits hard, but does not attack very quickly. Other than that, she's pretty good for stats, and her trait is unique. Moving on, operator profile. Horn is from the faction Victoria. Operator description: Horn, soldier of Victoria, here with you to face the crisis. The crisis is the main theme, chapter, I believe, 9, 10-ish. Around those areas. And her operator quote: shells swift as windstorm, shield stiff as steel wall. Her profile: Horn, graduate of the Royal Guard Academy of Victoria, presently commander of Victoria's 2nd Tempest Platoon, fought in coordination with Rhodes Island during the Londinium incident, ratified a cooperative strategic contract with Rhodes Island following referral by elite operator Misery. Her character voice for EN is Anna Burnett, for Japanese, Megumi Toyoguchi. Alright, moving on. Operator backstory. Rita Scamandros, codename Horn, is the daughter of the famous White Wolf Count and hails from an ancient lineage of Victorian nobles who once served the Aslan Padishah of Sargon. She serves as lieutenant of the 7th Frontline Infantry Battalion and the leader of the 2nd Tempest Platoon. The regiment Bagpipe belongs to. Rita was thought to be missing following the atrocity at County Hillock. Instead, she was being held hostage by Mandragora until Misery's team rescued her. Now joined with the rest of the Victorian army, Bagpipe, and Rhodes Island, she's ready to strike back against both Dublin and the Casdalian occupants of the palace of Londinium. The Tempest Platoon of Victoria maxims are: tactics sharpen the mind, discipline strengthens the will, bravery shall overcome evil, and benevolence shall save lives. Sometimes you can hear Bagpipe's voice lines, I believe, refer to these as well. Her debut event and banner, she released during the episode 10 or chapter 10 Shatterpoint, and her banner was Roaring Cliff Runner. Alright. For modules, she has 2, but right now on the global server she just has 1. Later she will get her Y module. Her first module is Fortress X. Exemplars. Stage 1, she gets some attack and defense. She gets a new trait that increases attack to 110% when attacking blocked enemies. Stage 2, she gains some increased attack and defense. Military Fortress improved, which is her first talent. When this unit is on the field, defender operators gain plus 25% attack. Stage 3, more attack and defense. And it improves Military Fortress again, and now it does 20. Defender operators get 28% attack. It's good for the if you use defenders a lot, and you would definitely want to grab stage 3 or stage 2. The increase in attack makes all defenders more effective, but her stage 1 effect is pretty bad. The problem is it's counterintuitive to what she wants to achieve. Horn wants to be a unit that attacks from further away at a safe distance to lower the enemy's defenses before they even get close. So by the time the enemy even reaches your front operators, she's already either killed them or she's done enough damage that they are severely weakened. That is kind of the way she wants to perform. She is basically a mortar artillery unit on the ground, as that she has like a shield cannon, so basically is a mortar. So the problem is her trait's counterintuitive. The new trait, the other phases are pretty good. She gets some attack, which she wants. She gets some defense, which she also wants. So the other 2 stages are good, but the first one is not even that good. She doesn't really want to be blocking enemies. She's not a Centurion guard. She doesn't have the extra like in front like Blaze or Gavial, the invincible. She just wants to, so that means when she blocks enemies, she loses access to the main selling point of her kit, which is that ranged AoE attacks. Without that, she just acts like a normal defender and just hits them individually. So it's just, the other stages are great and actually work pretty well with the kit, especially the military. It's just gonna make all defenders better, but the first phase is not very good. I would say either get it to 2 or 3 or don't get it at all, because there's really no point for the first phase. I mean, you get some stats, but is it worth the resources? It's kind of up to you on that one. I have the first one, but I probably will upgrade it later. But if you use defenders a lot, I think it's a no-brainer. If you use defenders, you're gonna get a great increase into it and to everybody's attack, and that's just gonna make people like Mudrock and Penance, which we'll go over later, more effective. So Fortress X, very the first stage is a bit of a miss, but the second 2 are pretty decent if you use defenders a lot, and her attack and defense goes up, so it's pretty nice. Her second module, which comes out later, Fortress Y, Old Clothes, New Days. Stage 1, she gets HP and attack instead of defense and attack. She gains a new trait, plus 10 attack speed. She attacks faster, so always useful. Stage 2, Bloodbath, which is her second talent, improves. Attack speed plus 5, defense plus 5%. Instead of retreating when defeated, recover HP to the max and gain minus 50% max HP, plus 20 attack speed and plus 20% defense, triggers once per deployment. This is a second chance talent that will keep her alive even if she takes a ton of damage. But it only will happen once, and she gets a buff. The third phase just gives her some more HP and attack, and it makes it so it has 8 attack speed and 8% defense instead of 5 and 5 respectively, and 22 attack speed and 22% defense after you proc the retreat instead of retreat talent. So Bloodbath, you're getting some, first of all, first phase you're getting some attack speed. She will attack faster. She has a quite high attack interval, so she's slow. She attacks slowly but hits hard. Attack speed will allow her to attack faster, pretty good for stage 1. Stage 2. So she will gain, by the way it's worded, attack speed and defense in general. She just gains 5 attack speed and 5% defense. The second phase of this is whenever she takes lethal damage, instead of just being defeated, she will then lose 50%, she will recover to max HP, but will gain minus 50% max HP, so she's at half basically, but she does not get defeated. And then she'll gain attack speed and a plus 20% defense, and then it just improves at stage 3. So the attack speed is nice, and so is the defense. So you could get stage 1 just for the attack speed. That wouldn't be a bad option. The other 2 are decent. The stage 3 you get 8 and 8%. The third effect is a little bit niche. You don't really want her to be taking enough damage in the first place if she's far away from the action, so she can use her artillery. She doesn't really want to be taking a lot of damage. It might be a little difficult to find a spot where you can be able to proc her retreat effect, where maybe not, because she later on, if you use certain skills, she can do like self damage, which can actually automatically trigger her talent itself, one of her skills I think it's her skill 3, lowers her HP per second, and it can do lethal damage to her. So, and this can actually kind of work with this, as you could use that and just use it to lower. So she's further away from the enemies, right? You use that skill, you lower her HP, she technically dies, but she's not defeated because she procs this talent. But it's a one-time use, but then she gets the attack speed increase and defense increase, but she has less max HP. And then you can put, let's say, a medic down or somebody else. Well, then she'd have the attack speed and defense increase, and it's not too difficult to pull off. So I could see this being a pretty reasonable upgrade, stage 1, 2, and 3, if you want to do that sort of strategy, which is actually a bit interesting. So we'll go over that a little later through her skills. So her Exemplars is a little bit more defensive and helps improve defender operators. So if you use defender operators a lot more, I would say go with X. I would say the first effect, you kind of either want the stage 2 or 3, or else there's kind of no point. Stage 1 is pretty meh. It doesn't really help. While her Y module is pretty interesting. Her Y module gives her attack speed, which she wants anyways. It increases her attack speed and defense. Further stages increases her HP and attack. And it will allow her to have a better buff through Bloodbath, which she can trigger herself. So I'm probably going to go with Fortress Y whenever it comes out, but take a look at both and see which ones you want to invest in. They're both pretty good, just X has a little bit of a hiccup there with the first stage being not very good, and the second two have to be it's more going to rely on your team. If you use a lot of defenders, easy, I would say upgrade it. If you don't use a lot of defenders, it's not really needed then at all. If you're not using defenders, there's no point to take Fortress X at all, really. Alright, talents. Her first talent is Military Fortress, which improves at pot 3, or potential 3. When this unit is on the field, defender operators gain plus 20% attack. We went over this in the X module. It will increase defender operators attack, pretty simple. It also increases her attack as well. So when you deploy Horn, you can first, if you hover, before you even deploy Horn, you can like hover over her and it will show the attack. When you actually place her, look at her attack again and it will go up just due to this talent. So her real attack is actually increased once you place her on the field. It just doesn't show it until you actually place her. And then other defender operators gain attack as well. So it's a pretty nice increase. It really synergizes well with other defenders, and that's really about it. It helps her do more damage, which is nice since she does a lot of damage, so pretty nice. Her talent 2 is Bloodbath, like we talked about. It's the second chance talent. She will not be, instead of being retreating, when defeated, she will recover HP to max, but gain minus 50% max HP. She'll gain attack speed and defense. Triggers only one time. It's pretty interesting. It gives her some attack speed, so she attacks faster, and defense, so she stays alive a little longer, but it does lower her HP, so you don't really want it happening all the time, since it can only happen once, and then she'll just die. But it's interesting because you can proc it yourself. You can make this happen just with her skill 3. You can just have this happen naturally, as long as you don't have a medic healing her. So you could actually it might be advantageous to actually use this. Like if you're gonna have Horn probably at a safe distance, so that means it doesn't really matter that she gets a little bit she gets 50% max HP, because she's not going to be being attacked anyways, because you don't really want Horn to be blocking units at all in the first place. You want her to be doing her ranged attacks. So it works pretty well that you can just use skill 3, lower her own HP, trigger this skill, have her attack faster, and have a little bit more defense, and then she can just do more damage. So, but that's a sort of, it's risky if they actually do make it past your front line. For mastery recommendations, I recommend we have all 3 of her abilities are actually great. She is actually a strong Mastery 9 candidate. If you want to Mastery 9 her, it's a pretty good idea actually. She has all 3 skills that have different scenarios that actually do well. So they all have different areas where they perform, and they all are powerful. So there's like no real wrong choice here, because they just are just all pretty decent, which is kind of rare. Usually we typically have either one skill be their standout skill, typically skill 3, or we have 2 skills be pretty good. But we typically don't have 3 skills be good. So, I mean, by good, I mean, getting like some attack speed and attack really doesn't do much. You know, they have no unique features. It just increases what they already do. So basically, skill 1 is an AFK skill that does extremely high physical damage and can reveal invisible enemies. It's very practical. It's a good AFK one. I typically use skill 1 the most. That's why I put it at the top. Skill 3 is a good option for burst. She increases her attack and attack speed, so she fires faster and does more damage. And then it just lowers her attack interval, so she can continuously attack faster, and it just shells one area that just everything dies typically. So skill 3 is great for that. Skill 2 is unique in that it's an ammo based one. The other 2 are not ammo based. Skill 1 is an auto recovery. Skill 3 is a manual trigger. Skill 2 is a manual trigger but ammo based skill. She gets 10 ammo, and then it has an overload feature where halfway through she will, at the first 5 ammo she gets 10. At the first 5 she will do physical, and then after that she gains her overload feature, which is halfway through the skill. She then does extra arts damage, allowing you to do some burst. You can also manually deactivate it, and then it will fire all the remaining shots. So like, let's say I start the skill, and if I end it, it will shoot all 9, I believe, instantly. So that's a lot. That's burst. A lot of burst, and it does arts. So anything with high defense will now take arts damage. So typically, if they have high defense, they're not going to have high resistance. So it's a very good burst skill. But it's different from skill 3, which is a consistent bombardment of just damage. But skill 2 has a little bit of arts damage, making it a little more specialized for dealing with threats that have super high defense. Because if skill 3, if she's going against something with super high defense, she may not actually be able to hit through their defense. So then she does no damage anyways. So they're both all 3 are really good skills. Skill 3 also will lower her max HP, so she can, like I was talking about earlier, she can proc her own talent Bloodbath to then give her increased defense and attack speed. So, skill 1, Flare Grenade. Flare Grenade is an auto recovery, auto trigger. It has no duration, initial SP 0, SP cost 5. The next attack deals 280% attack as physical damage. If it is a ranged attack, splash area is increased and an illuminated zone is created for 8 seconds, disabling enemy invisibility. So she now does more damage. So the next attack does more damage. And if it's one of the ranged attacks, which you want her to do ranged attacks, because that means that's making use of her trait, because it's going to be an AoE range attacks, it's going to have its splash area increased so it can hit more enemies than before, and it creates an illuminated zone for 8 seconds. So if enemies that are invisible walk through that zone, which is a large AoE, it'll have a lingering effect, and that means if they go into that range, they lose invisibility. They can be attacked. So it's pretty good. The only downside to this skill is she cannot target invisible enemies if they're invisible. So if they spawn as invisible, so they walk through and they're invisible, she can't do anything. If all of them are invisible, she has to have somebody else to be able to attack, to then use this skill 1, and then when she uses the skill on that other enemy, it will then create a circle, which will then potentially illuminate the invisible enemy, which then she can attack, because it then disables their invisibility. But she needs to at least be able to start this chain. So she either has to have an enemy reveal the invisible enemy, so she has an enemy that she can attack to then use the skill to reveal the other invisible enemies, or you have to have an invisibility reveal in another way, like another operator like Silver Ash or Ainz. Other than that, it's a very good AFK skill, and it's just a very reliable increase in damage. For skill 2, Tempest Command, auto recovery manual toggled. You can toggle this, manually deactivate it whenever you want. Initial SP 18, skill point cost 25, duration toggled. Each attack will deal 240% attack as physical splash damage. Overload. Each attack deals 60% attack as extra splash arts damage. If cancelled manually, fire all remaining bullets and lose 60% of max HP. Skill has 10 ammo and can be manually deactivated. Like I was talking about earlier, so the first 5 attacks, you get 10 ammo. The first 5 attacks will deal 240% attack as physical splash damage. This will be noted by a yellow effect underneath when you use the skill. It will have 5 bars, and that's the ammo, and they will be yellow. And then after the 5 bars are used, it will then switch to red bars. The red bars are the extra arts damage. She will deal the attack as physical splash, and she'll do extra attack as arts damage. If you cancel it manually, you'll fire all remaining bullets but lose 60% of max HP. So it's a nice skill, especially if you're going against high defense enemies, as you can do some arts damage, which typically can hit through that. If they have high defense, they typically have low resistance or lower resistance. And if you manually cancel it, you can immediately just fire all remaining bullets to just do a large amount of burst damage. It's a good skill. Now, moving on, skill 3, ultimate line of defense. Auto recovery manual trigger 24 seconds. Initial skill points 25, skill point cost 35, duration 24 seconds. So this is her large physical burst skill. Attack plus 70%. Attack interval greatly reduced. She attacks faster, so the attack speed, she attacks even quicker, so she can do a lot of damage very quickly. Overload. Attacking instead plus 140%, gradually lose HP, 12% max HP per second after 12 seconds. Skill can be manually deactivated. So this skill, you use it, you get some attack at the beginning, you'll gain your attack interval, so she attacks faster. After 12 seconds, she'll go into the overload. So same as the other one, same as skill 2, except it's not an ammo-based skill, it's just time-based. It'll last 24 seconds, so that means after 12 seconds, it'll switch to a red bar instead of a yellow bar, I believe, and that will denote that she is in the overload mechanic. You will also know that she's in the overload as she will be losing HP. She will be losing HP per second by 12% max HP per second for 12 seconds, but her attack is increased by 140% instead of plus 70%. So It's a signature burst skill, allowing her to bombard an area very quickly. It's a very fast damaging skill. You will just be consistently doing lots of damage over and over again in that one area. Very good for swarms or enemies that are large groups of enemies that you just need to get rid of quickly. Because her second skill it can deal with that, but it does not increase her attack interval as much at all. So she's still just going to be attacking normally, but she does do a lot of damage. And her first skill is more of it's a large hit that has a nice splash area increase, and she does more damage. But her third skill is her burst skill. This is a burst damage skill because of the attack interval reduction, so she attacks faster. So, synergies, moving on. Synergies. Placing operators in front of Horn is a good idea to maximize the effectiveness of her trait. She wants to be further away from enemies to soften them up so other operators can easily defeat them. Defenders also synergize due to the first talent increasing their attack. Offensive-based defenders like Mudrock and Penance have higher attack than other defenders like Saria and Shu. I think you'd get more benefit. Now, technically, she benefits all defenders, but she benefits higher attacking ones like Mudrock and Penance because they want to do more damage. Mudrock does already high damage, so the more damage you have, the more attack you have, the more benefit you're going to get out of a plus 20% bonus. And they both want to do more damage. Mudrock wants to do damage, to kill things. Penance has pretty high damage, especially with skill 3. And survival. They both have good survivability, so that's just a good increase. Like we talked about with skill 1, operators that reveal invisible enemies are useful if you're using skill 1, as she cannot target invisible enemies to begin with, and she needs someone else to either walk into her range, or that isn't invisible, or you have to have somebody like an operator like Ainz or Silver Ash that can reveal the invisible enemy in the first place. It's better to probably have somebody that can reveal to then start it, or because you never know if there's going to be an enemy that's going to spawn and then the invisible enemy, so you can reveal that invisible enemy. So it's more reliable to have somebody to at least be able to see them to begin with. Ainz is probably the easier, cheaper option, as she leaves a sort of sentry down that can continue to reveal people. Silver, you just need some way to see them for like one attack. If you can see them and then you can get skill 1 off, you can continue to hit them and then it will continuously reveal them. And then other operators that work well to block for her would be like any lane holder, so Thorns, Blaze, Gavial the Invincible, Executor, the X-Foder, Olpianus, anybody. Those are only a few options. Any single person that can just allow her to shoot her ranged attacks from across the stage will be effective. I just listed some. You just need somebody to be in front of her so that she can, well, shoot the shells for her ranged physical attacks to make use of her trait. As you don't really want her to be blocking enemies, as then she loses her access to her main feature or her main trait. For operator criteria, this is any reason you'd want to pull this character. Horn is not a limited character. She is a regular. I think she's in the regular standard high headhunting banners. So you might just pull Horn randomly. So she's not limited, which is great. She is from a noble heritage, but chose to become a soldier to protect others and her homeland. She serves as the lieutenant of the 7th Frontline Infantry Battalion and leader of the Tempest Platoon. So subjectively, I like Horn. I think she has story presence. She's a cool character, and that's really about it. She's a fun unit to use, so that's about it. Objectively, so subjective is any reason you'd want to pull a character for non-objective statistical reasons, basically. I put that as subjective. If you want a character for anything other than like their actual gameplay role or mechanics, then I'd say subjectively go with character design, lore, artwork, voice, presence, etc., faction. Any of that I put in subjective, and then objective is anything that is not anything, basically why I need the character in the first place. This is sort of, I don't really care, like this is sort of, I don't care about the subjective, I just want the facts, basically. Or if you're deciding on if you even need her, you know, because, so this would be, she is a unique branch, Fortress Defender. She has high physical DPS, she has survivability due to being a defender, she can do AoE, area of effect, long range attacks, and she can have invisibility reveal with skill 1. So she's very good against most things, unless they have really high defense, but she is just a consistent damage dealer. The biggest downside is that she does not want to block enemies because she loses access to her range attacks, and she's a little pricey. She's a defender that's 28 DP cost, that it's not as high as somebody like Mudrock or Penance, but it's not exactly very low either. So at the beginning of a stage, it might be a little difficult. And the problem is, at the beginning of a stage, she's not really going to be blocking. She doesn't want to block enemies, really. So you'd probably want to put somebody else in front of her. So you're going to have to wait a little before you can get access to her being deployed. Before you can deploy her. The objective tier is really just the way, so subjective and objective, I pull mainly on subjective because I don't really need anybody. Objective is for mainly if, well, let's say you're a newer player and you don't know what to upgrade. I remember when I started, I didn't know what to upgrade, and then who do I upgrade and why? Yes, technically all the resources are unlimited, as eventually you can get them over time, but let's say I need to complete an event now and I don't have I can choose between upgrading Horn, or I can choose between upgrading Thorns or Muenar. Like, yeah, I could, upgrading Horn is not gonna be a bad idea, but like, let's say are they gonna be able to, I'm trying to get the medals for the events, and I'm trying to do the EX stages at when I just started the game, and I needed an operator, and who should I upgrade? So objectively, she is not really gonna be a game changer. She's good. She's a solid, powerful unit. I think she's pretty good as a unit to upgrade, as she has very strong M9. She's a very strong M9 candidate for masteries, and she's a powerful unit by herself. But she's not on the level of being able to just win you a stage just because she exists, basically. Like Logos, Walter, Wizardell, Muenar. She's not gonna be the backbone, probably. Like, I would focus on it. Like, if I could choose between Horn or Thorns, I'd probably upgrade to Thorns first. Really, she's really good. She isn't really the highest, like, priority, I think. Like, if you do want to upgrade her, go for it. That's the subjective. I would upgrade her anyways. I upgraded her, but objectively, if I'm just starting out and I want to progress, if I don't care about progressing very quickly, or if I don't really care about the medals, then this doesn't matter. But if I care about medals, I need a character that can actually win me a stage. She will help win me a stage, but she is not at the level of higher units like Waynar or Thorns, in my opinion. That's not to take away from her being effective. She is extremely powerful as a physical DPS with unique abilities and skills. But if I'm looking at this objectively from a newer player perspective, that is what my 2 cents about that would be. So I think she's worth it, but if you're brand new, I think you might want to upgrade, let's say, Silver Ash to skill 3 before upgrading Horn. If you're gonna master them. If you're not gonna master them, then that's not really a big deal then. In conclusion, Horn is a powerful unit that can basically soften up enemies before they even reach you or just defeat them. And she's high HP, and she's very simple. She's very straightforward and a simple unit. For trivia, her leitmotif is March On. Horn is possibly inspired by the English epic hero Beowulf, specifically the 2007 movie in which the hero is given a golden horn by the king as a commendation. Her surname, Scamandros, is possibly based on the eponymous Greek god of river, Scamander. In her To of Florence Whiteley outfit description describes Excalibur, the mythical sword of King Arthur, in one of her outfits. In her outfit's idle animation, she doesn't have another outfit yet. Horn appears from a pool with a sword, which is a reference to the Lady of the Lake in Arthurian legend. And the explosion from Horn's attacks through her skills take the form of white lily flowers, which have the meaning of purity and rebirth. So, I know it's a lot, but basically, Horn is a powerful unit who I think, honestly, you should take a look at if you have her, and just try her out and see how you like her skills. I think she's pretty fun. She's interesting. She's a defender that's basically a artillery unit, who can do very high damage. Yeah, so that is it for Horn. The next review is going to be Ainz, and I thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day.
We have no time to hesitate. There are souls waiting for us behind the firing line. Has Bagpipe kept up her habit of humming around you? Me? I'm more the type to appreciate music in peace. The only thing a horn can play is the order to charge. I'm joking, of course, Doctor. The name White Wolf goes as far back in history as the Arslan monarchy. Why are you interested, though? Ah, you saw my fangs. I'm sorry. I lost control of myself then. I won't let it happen again. I have beautiful handwriting. Thank you. It just comes with the facade when you're raised a noble, which I've never been keen on. But sometimes these days, I'm grateful for it. Whenever I pick up a pen, everything else leaves my mind. My focus is only on how I write every letter in the proper way. As that city spat great black crystals from its gaping wounds, I thought there could be no hope left for it. Is this place familiar with those made infected not by catastrophe, but by human hands? Doctor of Rhodes Island. I can vaguely remember the portraits of my ancestors decorated with medals in the hall. I also recall the epee carved with the Lion King's orders and the maples my father planted in the front courtyard. But that's all that comes to me. I haven't returned home in a long, long while. In her chaotic theatre, Victoria's soldiers have no time to file for leave. I always feel stifled by gloomy indoor atmospheres. Do you want to go out and take a walk, Doctor? It might be overcast, but at least there'll be a breeze. There are times you can hear singing on the wind too, not just the echo of your own words. I'm just reading an ordinary novel. I've gone an awfully long time without reading something new. All the written word went up in the fires of war. Rhodes Island operator Misery managed to rescue me twice, and I'm sincerely grateful for it. I won't ask why I was the one he rescued. Those who live on are to carry forth the wishes of those who didn't make it. Doctor, does a commander as outstanding as you ever feel sorrow? Or anger? Or hate? I try as hard as I can not to let personal emotions sway me. But I can't forget. I promised them I would never forget. How do you sleep after having witnessed so much cruelty? If I could do the same as you, with a simple shut of my eyes, would I feel any better? One victory may not be enough to impact a whole war, but it can at least give more people a chance to see the open sky.